When people generally ask all these things, how do you get to all these sort of things? Which school, which university, which Darul Uloom you went to? Wallah, I went to no university, I went to no Darul Uloom. How does all these things come about? So let's see, I left school at the age of 16. I passed what is called Standard 6. And I was working in a country shop, some 25 miles outside Durban, a country shop in the country. And across the valley from where the shop was an American mission called Adams Mission Station. It was an American board mission, Amanzim Todi, on the south coast. At this mission, the missionaries were being trained in comparative religion. And whatever they learned, they practiced on us in the shop. You see, I was a salesman selling sugar and salt, handkerchief, rice, things like that, little things. And all the other staff were like myself, all schoolboys, just left school. Cheap labor, you see. So we were there, and these missionaries, they come along, and they knock heads into us. The guy comes along, he says, he's buying his things, but he says, Muhammad has so many wives. I know nothing about that. Really, I knew nothing about that. He says, Muhammad, he copied his book, the Quran, from the Jews and the Christians. I know nothing about that. He says, Islam was spread at the point of the sword. I know nothing about that. The only knowledge I had about Islam, as well as my companions, was that we read the Kalima. If I ever met any one of you then, and you say you're a Muslim, I say, can you read the Kalima? He said, yes. I said, come on, read. So he said, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. I said, right. Pass. That's how I passed, and I passed everybody. You read the Kalima, you're Muslim. What that meant, I didn't know. Wallah, I didn't know. I read it, that's a formula, magic formula, I'm a Muslim. I knew the way my father prayed, I prayed, the way he made wudu, I make wudu, the way he fasted, I fasted. I knew all that. But what about Islam? I knew nothing. What should I lie to you? And this is my people. This is what we were. We knew nothing. We were Muslims, we read the Kalima. So these people are making life miserable for us. They didn't know that they were creating a monster for themselves. That they didn't know. If they only knew, they'd regret the day. Say, why did we touch this guy? Should have left him alone. So, still time. Take your time. So what to do? Leave the job and run away? Or fight back? Now you can't fight back if you have no weapons. And jobs are hard to find. After high school, I was getting £6 a month, my wages. But at the end of the month, I didn't get the wages. I had to work another whole month to get the previous month's wages. That's how bad it was. What to do? So you great. What to do? Run away. But there's no way out. But I had a hunger for reading anything, everything, any rubbish will do. Read. It's a sickness. I had a sickness for reading. So one Sunday, nothing to do, I go into the boss's warehouse and rummaging through a pile of newspapers. I'm looking for some more readily, some nice reading material, like a magazine. We had something like the Farmer's Weekly, we had the Outspan, Personality. I'm looking for anything like that in the pile of newspapers. So I'm going through, putting the newspapers one side. If I find something, I put the other side. I said, this, I'll take it into my room and read them. And going through. And Allah is Musabbibul Asbab. He is the creator of opportunities. See how he does it. How Lenin found that book. Lenin, Karl Marx, Das Kapital. He was in prison and he read it. And he came out, he implemented it. One man. And today, 200 million, 1,000 million communists. Because one man read the book. This is what the potentiality of a book. This, I find a book, a worm-eaten book. Red cover, full of mildew. I take it up and start to sneeze. The book, it says, Izharul Haq. Izharul Haq. Izharul Haq. Sounds like Muslim. Izharul Haq. I have no knowledge about these things. Izharul Haq. Izharul Haq. It doesn't sound English, does it? To my mind, it is I-Z-H-A-R-U-L. Izharul H-A-Q. Izharul Haq. What is Izharul Haq? So I see in bracket, in small writing, it says the truth revealed. So I said, maybe that means this. Let's see. So I open the book. And it is a book about the British conquest of India. My country. That when the British conquered my country, they realized that at any time, anybody that will give them trouble in their country will be the Muslims. Because power, rule, dominion was wrenched out of their hands, and once you have tasted power and rule, you want to aspire for it once more. So if we can convert the Muslims, they reasoned, if we teach them to turn the other cheek, we can rule them for 1,000 years peacefully. The Hindus were as docile as the cows that they worship at that time. No problem. So they started pouring in the missionaries into India like frogs in the rainy season. Do you have frogs here? In the rainy season? We have them. Like frogs in the rainy season. And they started challenging the Muslims to public debates. At first the Muslims were reluctant. You know, these are our rulers, and if we talk too much, if we argue too hard, they might send us to Kalapani, those black waters in the Andaman Islands. Who wants to go there? So keep out of it. Keep out of trouble. And we have been emasculated too, to quite a long, great extent. The Muslims. You know, even now you find them all over the world, the Muslims. They're spiritless people, emasculated people, like castrated people. We're waiting for it to be slaughtered. This is the spirit of the Muslim. Any little thing the Muslim does, the Muslim gets terrified. I took out the pamphlet about the Pope and the Muslim gets terrified. Muslim, not the Christian, the Muslim gets terrified. Something has gone wrong with us. But that militancy has gone out of us. So it says, emasculate the Muslim, teach them to turn the other cheek, problem is solved. So now they come into India challenging the Muslims, and the Muslims don't want to debate, so they master our language. So in your language. First the excuse was that we don't know English. So right, it's in your language. And this is the beauty, the greatness of the Westerner. Wherever he goes, he learns the language of the native. Within 3 months, he masters your language and he speaks to you in your language. The Muslim hasn't got that. He comes to South Africa, to Natal, he learns Zulu in 3 months. He speaks to the Zulu in Zulu. He goes to Indonesia, he learns Indonesian. He goes to Arab countries, he learns Arabic. Wherever he goes, he masters your language. You go into somebody foreign country, in 50 years you don't learn his language. And I think an Arab saying goes, "Man ta'allama lughata qawmin amana sharrahum." If you learn the language of a people, you will be able to avoid their vials, save yourself from their machinations. I'm able to do that to a great extent now. See, born in India as a Britisher over 60 years ago, British subject. I have a British passport. When I was 9 years old, I know how many of you are Britishers for more than 60 years. I am. Not having seen an Englishman in my life, up to the age of 9, I go to South Africa, and now I'm coming to the hub of the British metropolis and speak to him in his language and tell him, he says, "Now come sir, talk to me, reason with me in his language." And he can't get away with it because I understand his language, what he's talking about. So I can ask him, "Excuse me sir, will you please explain what is to be get in your language, because I know what it means. I want you to tell me, I want you to open your mouth." So, mastered our language and challenged the Muslims to public debates. Now, the Muslims had no excuse. The young men tell the elders, they said, "Look, Saab, you know, ये तो हमारी ज़बान के अंदर हमारे साथ बहस करने मांगता है. This guy wants to debate with us in our language. How can we say no now?" So Maulana Abdul Aziz of Delhi, he was forced to take up the challenge. And there was a reverend founder from England who was taking a lead in that debate expedition. And according to the appointed time and date, the debate starts. And I'm told in that book, I'm reading this in the book, that 100,000 people gathered at that great meeting. I don't know how voice was carried those days. But somehow the people loved it, they enjoyed it. Even if they didn't hear, they could see what's going on at a distance. 100,000 people gathered. And the Reverend began. Reverend power. So he began by requesting the Maulana. He said, Maulana Sahib, respected learned man, please get started. So the Maulana Sahib reasons. He says, you are our elder brother. Christianity precedes Islam by 600 years. As such, you are our elder brother, and according to our culture, you have the first choice. Secondly, you are our guest. No doubt an unwelcome guest, but a guest at that. So as such, according to our culture, you have the first preference. So the Reverend was forced to begin. And he began with a question. He says, Maulana Sahib, in Urdu, where is your Prophet Muhammad now? Your Prophet, where is he now? So the Maulana thought for a moment, and he said, he is in Jannatul Firdaus with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is in blessed heaven with God Almighty. Out of that answer came the second question. Said, all right. You say he was in heaven. He's in heaven. Where was he when his grandson Hussein was martyred at Karbala? Where was he then? So again the Maulana thought for a moment, and he replied, he was still in Jannatul Firdaus with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in blessed heaven with God. Where was he then? So again the Maulana responds that he was in Jannatul Firdaus with Allah ta'ala. Out of that answer came the third question. He said, all right. If he was with his Allah in heaven when his grandson Hussein was martyred at Karbala, butchered at Karbala, didn't he ask his Allah for help? So there was a long pause. And the Reverend started beating his feet. He said, come on. Didn't he ask his Allah for help? If you have a big brother like this, and if somebody comes bullying me, haven't I got the right to say, brother, come, please, save me. Didn't he ask Allah for help? So after a long pause, the Maulana says, yes, he did. They said, what did he say? What did Allah say? Because we know he wasn't saved. And there was an inordinate pause. So the priest started beating his feet once more again. Come on. So the Maulana and the people felt the battle is gone. Battle is lost. Maulana ne humko mara diya. Khalas, he's finished that. Come on. So the Maulana said, Allah began to cry. So what? Allah cried? He said, yes, Allah cried. He said, I couldn't save my own son, Jesus. How can I save your grandson?